Hi, I'm Mr. Twinspark and welcome to Twinspark Reviews. Now, the past few weeks we've had diesels and Volkswagens and I thought really push the boat today with something unique, new, interesting. So I've got a 2022 diesel Volkswagen Passat. No, I'm not doing this, no. You, can I just borrow your car for a review, is that right? So today we've got a 2013 Suzuki Swift Sport. So, what we are filming today instead is this, a 2013 Suzuki Swift Sport 1.6 naturally aspirated. Alright, and here to tell me more about this car is the owner. So, Jack, when did you buy this car?
So I bought this car back in January 2020.
Okay, how much did you pay for it back then?
Well, stick with I pay £132 a month.
Okay, alright, that's fair. So, why did you pick this specific one?
Well, the car I had at the time was potentially falling apart, and it was a quick option that wasn't going to cost me an awful lot on insurance, but would still be fun to drive.
Okay, and have you done anything to this so far? I'm noticing it's got new wheels.
Yes, so I've put the new wheels on it. I've got some stickers, you know, as you can see, your merchandise. Just
oh yes, available now on Instagram if I haven't sold out yet, so message me on there if you want it. Sorry for
and I've taken the back box off it, but we won't say that. We'll say we've done an exhaust into the car for insurance purposes.
So what do you like about this car and what don't you like about it?
Well, the car is insanely fun to drive, and ever since I've got it, it's never failed to put a smile on my face. But it does pain me so when I lose to a Fiesta off the line because it's got no power.
This is what, 135, right?
Yeah, 136, it says on the tin.
Which is roughly on par with my MR2, but obviously a lot heavier.
Not much heavier. With me sat in it, however.
We won't mention that. Legally. So yeah, this is what we're reviewing today. So let's have a bit of a look at it, shall we? Now, I do appear to keep reviewing mid-2010 hatchbacks. That's not intentional, but this is what we have today. Now, in terms of looks, I think these things look great. I think they look exactly how a lukewarm to hot hatch should. I mean, especially with these wheels. You've got spoiler here, you've got the lovely sporty looking bumpers front and back. The back here I think has got the lovely sort of setup with the twin exhausts, and that is how they look factory. The fact that there are bigger exhausts to fill those holes, that is aftermarket, but these are twin pipes. I also really love the things that Jack has done to this. For instance, the roof rack. I think roof racks on most cars actually make them look way cooler. I love these wheels, I think they're fantastic. The slightly larger pipes at the back really look good and they do sound fantastic. And he's got just the right amount of stickers, especially my merch. Again, message me on Instagram. You can probably buy one still. I don't know if we've sold out by the time this comes out, but yeah, I think this thing looks brilliant. Of all the cars, of all three cars I've reviewed in this section, which is obviously all three cars I reviewed, this is easily the best looking. Up front we do have, powering the front wheels, a 4-cylinder 1.6 petrol for once, thank God for that, 16 valve engine, which is producing around 136 horsepower when new at the crank. Don't know if it's still producing that today. So this is not a hot hatch along the likes of, say, the Fiesta ST or Polo GTI, but as a lukewarm hatch and as, say, a first or maybe second car, I think these are brilliant. Now, with it being a small hatch, it is, not necessarily as practical as you'd like. In fact, compared to, say, the Polo and the Fiesta we recorded in the past sort of 2 weeks or so, this is smaller, and that does pay a bit of an issue when you come to the boot. So, now, normally when I come around the back of the cars, I go straight into opening the boot and talking about practicality, but with this, I think we need to just take a moment to appreciate just how good looking the back is. It's a bit squat, it's a bit hench. This spoiler really sets it off. The twin pipes just, this is the best angle to look at these from. Now we do need to talk about practicality because this isn't great. I mean, the boot in here, yes, it's deep, but it's not very big. And I mean, look at the parcel shelf. I've had dinner plates bigger. But the boot itself, not immediately unusable. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could maybe get some golf clubs in here. I wouldn't recommend it. The seats do fold flat and that can be useful, but even then the rear legroom, not very good. So, if you're a rear passenger, the owner doesn't like you very much, but what's it like if you're a front passenger? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Right, now as ever, the The owner's a little bit shorter than I am, so So the interior of the Suzuki Swift. Up front we have a very similar to the Fiesta from a few weeks ago. We've got a very inbuilt, custom for this particular car, head unit, which does date it a little bit. It looks very much like a very premium radio from Asda or IKEA. But the rest of the interior build quality is actually a lot nicer than a lot of other cars in this class. This feels very quality and it looks quite quality. The steering wheel's lovely, all the buttons and dials feel premium, they feel good. Now, while interior space is lacking, especially in the back, as previously mentioned, you do have a lot of very clever cubby holes, including the fact that this car has 7 cup holders. We've got one here built in, you've got a pop-out one there, you've got 2 in each door. It's ridiculous. It's more cup holders than realistically you have any use for. You've also got this sunglass shelf by here, which I wouldn't particularly trust because that is smooth plastic, and with something like this, when you're doing your hard pulls to pull all the local women, that's going to slide off. Now, in terms of making it look sporty in here, they've done a brilliant job. I mean, these seats look the part. The dials on this are fantastic. They look, you know, like a sporty hatchback dials. You've got the red stitching around the steering wheel, and you've got this great gear shift, which is, oh. Now, admittedly, aftermarket knob, but that is stock. That feels fab. Now, with a car like this, there's one place I'm going to drive this, because I could take it on the motorway, and I could take it through town, but I'm in a lukewarm hatch with a big, shouty exhaust. So I'm going to go barreling around the back roads and we're going to see how fun it is. Now what I like about this exhaust that Jack's put on the back here is that while most exhausts are very, very loud and, but you know, drony and very one note, this actually reverberates and it burbles and it sounds really nice. I think that's a very hard thing to achieve with a lot of aftermarket exhausts. The only thing I will say is when you are decelerating and you leave it in gear, it goes incredibly loud then, and that is a slight disadvantage. The exhaust, however, which sounds fantastic, is aided actually by the gearbox, because the first 3 gears have a synchro, and you can definitely hear the synchro whirring up as you drive along, and it makes you feel a bit like you're in an old rally car. And now we're going to properly launch it. Up to 7,500 revs, and it does pull a bit to the left when you're doing that, I've noticed. It's got a little bit of torque steer to it. It does sound great when you're pulling off. There's not an amazing amount of power. It is slow, don't confuse yourself, but that loud exhaust mixed with, you know, the bounciness of the suspension, it makes you feel like you're going a lot faster than you actually are. The one complaint I do have about the driving setup in here is the electric steering. It can feel a little bit wayward at times. We overtook the Polo earlier for the sort of tracking shot, and when coming back in, it felt like it was skittering all over the road, even though the car was doing nothing out of the ordinary, which a little bit disheartening. I could see that making you want to slow down just a little bit. While you do have plenty of revs to play with, and especially with that exhaust, you want to play with them all. There's very little point, because above about 6,000 revs, you notice a drop off in actual power. You're making a whole lot of noise, but not a whole lot of movement. But, oh, it's fun to make all that noise. We're out here now on the back roads of Cannock Chase, and even well below the speed limit, I'm having a great time. This gearbox is so notchy, the exhaust noise is just right. There's enough power without it being too much for, you know, someone like a first-time driver, or even a relatively experienced driver. There's just enough power to keep it interesting and a little bit spiky at times, or at least feel a bit spiky, without you actually being in any danger. This is what a lukewarm hatch should be. In fact, this is what most hot hatches should be. That little bit of power in a very small, nice handling frame. And, oh, it's tremendous. I haven't stopped smiling the whole time I've driven it. This is, especially with that exhaust like that. As you can hear, a little bit loud on that deceleration, but... The one thing I will say about this car is it's actually very comfortable. You notice bumps in the road. I'm not going to pretend that you don't, but they're not incredibly harsh. They're not jarring like they would be in, say, a Fiesta or a Polo or anything like that. It's very, very smooth. I think a big part of that is down to the very bouncy suspension, which is just soft and squidgy enough to make the car feel like you're doing a million when you go around corners, but also not so soft that you're feeling like you're leaning over everywhere. It's just the right amount. It's got that, and it's got these tremendous seats, which are not only very comfortable, but incredibly supportive. I'm not rolling about at all. These are a genuine bucket seat from the manufacturer, not a aesthetic attempt. These seats are fantastic. It feels really light on its feet. That's the thing about this that I find just tremendously great fun. I'm at no point feeling like I should be driving slow. This thing makes you want to be an absolute rascal. The whole time I've been driving this, I just feel like I should go out and be a yobbo. It's intoxicating. It's amazing fun. The other thing that's quite interesting about this is, despite the fact that I have been planting it all day, and I know the owner doesn't exactly drive like a nun, you get 37.4, according to this, miles to the gallon, which for a car that is this much fun to be that economical, that's quite good. That is exactly why lukewarm hatches are so brilliant. I think people expect every hot hatch should be, you know, a Focus RS, a Golf R. Now, the advantage of a car like this over, say, a Focus RS or a Civic Type R or a Golf R, a lot of Rs I'm noticing, the advantage of something like this over that is that you can drive these at 40 and still feel like you're really pushing them. It's got the sporty elements. It's got the slight squidge in the suspension, but it's firm enough that it's good around corners. It's got the sporty seats. It's got the quite tight handling, and it's got the noise. Now, admittedly, helped in this one by an aftermarket exhaust, but you don't have to be doing 70, 80, 90 miles an hour to really enjoy them. This is what's so great about this. 135 horsepower, relatively lightweight, not a problem at all. Now, I have to again commend this gear shift. The lightened gear knob does help, but it's such a notchy, mechanical feel. It feels just, like I'm going straight into the gearbox. It makes such a satisfying clunk. And here's the thing, if you want a first car, or maybe even a slightly more exciting second car, this is what makes this sort of car so perfect for it. So, what do I think about it? It looks good, sounds good, it drives fantastically. Do you know how this feels? Like a little mini rally car. If you want one of these as your first car, your second car, do it. These are fantastic. What a brilliant car for the money. Honestly, couldn't recommend it higher. So that's it for today. Obviously, we've got more cars coming up in the future. If you've got any cars you want to submit to be reviewed, please do. Hit me up on Instagram at Alex Twinspark or Mr. Twinspark. I can't remember. Joe, please put a ban underneath to correct me where I'm wrong. You might get a bit swamped out initially because we've got a lot of DMs and a request at the moment, so it might take me a while to get to you, but I will get to you, and we do aim to review every car that is submitted. So if you want to see your car hated or slated, please let me know. Anyway, that's it for us tonight. Thank you very much. Because I know that's, there's horses. Don't completely incriminate me straight away. So this is where I went when I accidentally dusted out some doggers.
Oh, it's Duke of Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'd be worth as well as a bunch of kids.
I was going to say, I'm really hoping these aren't doggers. That's recorded, isn't it? Oh dear.
Still recording.
Now, that's on film as well. That's the best one. Gee, I'm coming to your home. I'm gonna come round and I'm gonna give you some dome. It's not the most impractical. No, don't. I'm still getting dressed. My dignity. That's for my OnlyFans.
You're gonna have it to lose it.
Oh, I forgot what I was going with.